As many of us know, dating is difficult enough, but dating during a pandemic, singles hoping to meet the love of their lives are having to take more than compatibility into account. Joining us today is a lady who has joined together soulmates over and over again. Buffy Bell Lilly is the founder and CEO of Charleston Wine Pairings. So how many couples have you engaged in marriage?
Oh, wow. My most recent brought my number up to 29. So
29.
no, I know, it's so exciting.
Oh, congratulations on that. That's a
Thank
good
you.
number.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so you've got some advice for singles trying to meet each other in a currently virtual world. So how have things
Right.
changed? Charleston Wine Pairings, maybe tell us what Charleston Wine Pairings is on a normal day.
Well, on a normal day, I interview all the clients one-on-one and then invite them to a wine tasting of 3 men and 3 women, or I can just set up one-on-one dates. But I also do some bigger group events that I call +1 parties, where my client brings someone of the opposite sex to my event that they're not interested in. And so those can be up to 50, 60, 70 people. And it's great because you come in knowing everyone there is single and available. And so it helps me build my database as well as help you meet a lot of single people in one night. So it's a lot of fun.
So in other words, people can bring their wing person.
Right.
Which
And
helps. It helps break the ice. It helps you kind of introduce people to each other.
Of course. And it's always a good time. The last one I had, there were numerous couples that came out of that just from being at that event. So that's exciting.
When was the last one that you had before the pandemic took hold of all of us?
Oh gosh, it was early February. Man, doesn't that seem like 10 years ago now?
It seems like forever ago. I mean, it's almost February again, Buffy.
I know, right? Crazy.
So how have you adapted? How have things changed?
Well, when the government won't really let me do my job, that's difficult. So of course, all of my clients, I'm going to be extending my active clients, I'll be extending their contracts to make up for all this lost time. But we're moving on and up, right?
Yeah, well, it is true. So will you now kind of pivot into the virtual world? Are you doing things via Zoom or Skype? Are you changing things around? Or are you just waiting for people to be able to come back together again?
A little bit of all of the above, depending on what my clients prefer. Most of the women do not want a Skype date because they're so nervous about looking good and making a good impression. But then some people have, and so it just depends on the individual, really.
What have you heard from the couples who have done it virtually?
Good things, really good things, because I think it's forced us all, whether you're online dating through other avenues or using me, I think it's forced us to look past just the physical and really get to know each other on a deeper level. And I think it's, in a way, it's taking dating back to what it used to be, which is exciting.
And that, you just took the words out of my mouth, because everything that I have read, everything that I have heard, I mean, I have friends who have friends of friends that are in this pandemic dating world, and they have been going back to writing each other letters. I mean, even with
so
advent of Skype and Zoom, how romantic is that, is to sit down pen to paper.
Right.
So you say that it goes beyond the physical, that people are getting to know each other on a far deeper level, and also making sure that you're keeping each other safe by not getting physical immediately. Well, I have so many more questions for you, Buffy. We do have a break here, but when we come back, we're going to also learn about why you decided to become a matchmaker. So stay tuned for that. We'll be right back. Welcome back. We've been chatting with Buffy Bell Lilly. She's the founder and CEO of Charleston Wine Pairings. And we were just talking about dating in a virtual world. How do you meet people during a pandemic when everybody's supposed to abstain from being together socially? First, though, Buffy, can you tell us why you decided to become a matchmaker?
Well, it's interesting. I went to undergrad at Clemson, and then I moved here to Charleston to go to the medical university, and I graduated there in occupational therapy. And people are always like, how did you go from that to matchmaking? But really, all of my studies were about the study of people, and what makes us tick and what makes us have certain passions and why we do what we do. And I just love it. I think sometimes the interviews that I do one-on-one with each client is part of probably one of my favorite parts of the job, just getting to know people and what their story is. And
I think
so
you
it's a lot of
invest
fun.
more of that. You know what? I think you invest more of that into the people you're trying to match than sometimes the people who are trying to match themselves.
Right. Because I am able to look across the table and look outside of what it is that maybe you've always dated that you thought was your type. And I can maybe go, you know what, let's think outside the box here a little bit and maybe just meet him or just meet her if it's not, even if you normally wouldn't date that person. And a lot of times those work out more often than not.
And in today's society, it's very common for people to meet one another, go out on a first
Right.
date, and just immediately start along that physical part of the relationship.
Right.
You were just saying before the break that people are taking it much slower, that they're getting to know one another.
Right.
So can you talk a little bit more about that and what that means to the strength of a relationship?
Sure. And I will say a lot of times, even when couples that I have introduced through a wine tasting, they'll call me and maybe be like, oh my gosh, after the wine tasting, we made out for like 10 minutes in the parking lot. And usually those are the ones that about 2 months later kind of fizzle out because they started with the physical and then they kind of realized maybe they didn't have so much in common. And then those that take it slower and sometimes call me and say, well, I'll definitely go out with him again, or I'll go out with her again. We'll see. It was a good date. We'll see what happens. Those are usually the ones that last the longest because they take it slow and they get to know each other. And those, at the end of the day, what you have in common and what your heart is telling you, might be the most important thing.
And considering the risk of putting a bunch of people together in the same room or just bringing two people together to go out on a date, it seems like now people are having far more respect for one another because they're taking each other's health into consideration as well. So the respect for the individual person in each couple seems to be higher now.
True. And it's bringing back chivalry, right? I kind of love it.
It's true because all that other stuff, it will come naturally. I think people just have always tried to force it and try to move too fast, but it does. It weakens, I think, a lot of bonds when they could have actually thrived had they been a little bit more patient. So would you say that absence makes the heart grow fonder?
Sometimes. And honestly, I think that what I'm hearing from my male clients is it's making them think outside the box a lot more with a date. So I had about 3 months ago now, I had a couple meet, and they both had to be 6 feet apart. And so they met at a park. And he brought her favorite wine and some little snacks and things. And it's just, normally men wouldn't think to do that, and I was really proud of him. I was like, that's so great, thinking outside the box. And then, they went for a walk down the water, down the Battery. And so I think it's really teaching men a lot as well as women about, wow, he's really thinking about this date and wanting to get to know me. So it's exciting. It's an exciting time to be dating, I think.
I agree. It's a return to simpler, better times. And it sounds like the pressure is taken off both parties, that they can just really get to know one another. Well, I think that's fantastic, Buffy. So can you tell people how they can become a client of yours?
Sure. My website currently is under construction, but it still has a page that you can go to and send me your info. And it's very simple. It's just your name and email and phone number, and that comes straight to me. And then I get in touch with you and we go from there.
Great. 29 marriages. You're just one away from 30. You were getting so close, Buffy.
That's what I'm doing on this earth. I'll take it.
It was so great to catch up with you. We're going to catch up in a couple of months. I want to hear what's going on. I want to know if you've made any long-term matches.
Well, if I've had two couples get engaged during quarantine, and I'm like, they're going to last. I mean, you're either getting divorced during quarantine or getting engaged, right?
We prefer the latter. We prefer the latter.
Right.
Puffy, thank you so much. Always so much fun to talk to you.
You too. You look beautiful as always.
Oh, as do you. We're back after this.